folks, how you doing? It's been a while. Loch Eric. Been older away at the far end of the loch there. Just looking at the bird flying down the loch. I'm not sure what it is. There's sea eagles on Loch Eric, but it's a bit far away to tell what it is. Got a wee adventure planned, so let's go. Can you see me there, folks? I'm tucked down out of the wind so I can have a wee chat to you. I'm on the shores of Loch Patrick. And oh, camera bag's open, sugaring about in here. What time is it? It's fast approaching 1 o'clock, so I've got about just over 3 hours of daylight left. It's a bit of a challenge being out and about filming at this time of the year. Quite hungry. I'm going to have a bite to eat, and actually I think I've got some coffee on the bike. we go. It's a bit muddy, the track's been a bit muddy in places. It's not been too bad so far. That's about to change in the next half an hour or so. Maybe sooner if I have a quick lunch. Let's see if this coffee's still hot. Oh yeah. Inhaling it. Perfect drinking temperature. I was up and away early this morning. I was up before 5 and on the road, driving through the rain in the dark, up to Dalwhinnie, down the side of Loch Ericht, and then up and over. But we've got a bit more to do yet, so let me tuck into a bit of lunch here. I'll get back on the road again. You see the hill with the wee bits of snow on it, that's Gaelcarn, and underneath it, where the mist is, that's Anlarig, a pass that goes, quite a high pass that goes through the hills. I think it goes up to about 550 or maybe even 600 metres. I had half a thought to go through there today, but I really want to do quite a lot of filming, and it's a fairly hard shift taking the bike up and through there. There's a wee suspension bridge down there that goes across the river. After my lunch I'll take you down and let you have a look at it. But I think what we're going to do, we're going to go down the side of Loch Patrick here, and then we'll follow the river, and we'll go round instead of going up through. I can see it's a bit craggy in there, and I don't think it would be much use for the big cameras. I do have a GoPro with me, but the quality of the filming is not, the footage is not so great, so I think I'll go that way, although there is some difficult terrain up ahead here as well. The last time I went down in that direction I had my packraft with me, so I was able to paddle down Loch Patrick and into the River Patrick. Underneath there's an old bridge down there as well. You'll see that too because we've got to cross that. I paddled underneath it and then down and then jumped out and back on the bike again. I was using actually I think it was the mountain bike that I had and the packraft. It wasn't this bike. Time's wearing on, folks. Better finish my cheese and onion pasty and my coffee and get on the move again, otherwise we'll be caught out by darkness. Can you hear me all right, folks? It's a bit windy here. Well, I'm glad I came this way because the weather's looking decidedly better over your shoulder than it is in behind us there. But the track is just beginning to get interesting, and I know I've got a fairly tricky section, quite a hard section up ahead. But there's no way round. We'll just have to keep going, so let's crack on, folks. The bike's fairly heavy, folks. It's going to disappear in the mud. I'm going to have to haul it through here. I've got a wee bit of rope with me. I think I'm going to tie a double bowline and make a wee harness for myself. Take a wee bit more, make the loops a bit bigger. There we go. It's not actually that bad, folks. I think it's going to be a bit boggier further up though. Basically what I've done there, I made a wee harness. I just tied a double bowline, put the two loops round my shoulder and the rope round the back, and then I've got it one turn round the handlebars there, so I can just lean and I can lift the back end of the bike up a wee bit and lean using my shoulders to help push, take a wee bit of the strain off my back. So it's worked in the past. If it doesn't get any worse than this, I probably won't need it, but let's see what's up ahead. Let's keep going. Well, I'm rolling again, folks. Well, sort of. We're getting there though. Track's looking a bit firmer up ahead. Oh, hot work. I could have done with taking a layer off. Let's just keep going. I spoke too soon there, folks. That last wee bit was a wee bit tricky. I'm wondering if I can put this rope away now. The track's looking pretty good from here on. I've got to cross the river in a wee while, and after that the track definitely gets better. I'll pedal on. I'll keep this rope out just in case. It's handy for lifting the back end out of the bog. we're rolling now, folks. Got about an hour of daylight left, so gotta keep moving. There's a golden eagle above your head and across to my right, but it's way high up. I don't have a lens big enough to capture it for you. You'll just have to take my word for it. I need to get some more water in a wee while. Follow the river for a wee bit, should be easy enough. Let's keep rolling. What do you think, folks? It's not a bad view, eh? It's nice up and behind you as well, the river, the trees, the hills. I've got about 20 minutes of daylight left, so kind of Hobson's choice really. I need to unpack some of this gear and get some shelter before it gets dark, otherwise I'll be setting up camp in the dark, which is never fun. I love the view, but it's a wee bit windy for filming, and it's a wee bit damp, but it's not too bad, and I've got a decent mat. I don't think I've got a lot of choice. Let's get cracking, folks. Let's get the camp set up. I'll chat away to you a wee bit while I'm doing this, but I've got to focus and get this done before it gets dark. Still here, I'm not moving the camera around very much because I haven't been out and about very much, haven't done much filming. I tried to film as much of today as I could, although the last hour coming down the track there I put the camera away and tied the tripod on the bike, and I was really going for it because I knew I was burning daylight and time was short. So the filming has taken a wee bit maybe a wee bit more of the day than I would ordinarily devote to it at this time of the year. Not sure you're going to be able to hear me over this wind. Switched the GoPro, guys. I was chuntering away to the camera there, and then I realised that it had switched itself off because of the moisture. It's getting a bit dark for the other camera anyway, so see if I can keep you with me for a wee while longer till we get this camp set up. I brought my bigger tent tonight. I've got the crux with me again. It's just these long hours of darkness that you've got to fill, and if you've got a wee bit more real estate, you know, a bit more space in the tent, you can relax and stretch out a bit. The wee bivvy tent is great, especially when you're moving and it's if you're carrying it, but even on the bike, the lightweight and lack of bulk, it's a good tent. But it's what time is it? It's 4 o'clock and it's not going to be light until 7:30 tomorrow morning, so having the luxury of a wee bit space. Well folks, it's not the most sheltered spot I've ever camped in. It's not the most level spot, and it's not the driest spot. But I love the view, and I've run out of daylight, so I'm going to be quite comfortable here. I can always tie the tent to the bike if I'm worried about wind in the night. I'll see how the anchors do, how the pegs do, but I think I'll put the bike here and I'll attach the tent to the bike. At least then if we blow away, we'll all blow away together. It's a wee bit dark in here. I'll get a lamp on the go in a wee while. The electrics are in a dry bag in the bottom of my pannier. I want to crack on and do as much as I can before darkness sets in. If I think I need to anchor that tent in the night, I'll use my rope just up and over and tie it down to the bike. Well, actually, I think the weather looks pretty benign. I've got a mouthful of mud. I'm going to go down to the river. It's a bit further away than I wanted, and get some water for cooking up. Hey, I've no idea if you can see me, folks. Hey, that floodplain is quite wet down there. I'm glad I took the precaution of waxing up my boots yesterday. I've got quite a lot of water. I'm hoping that that's going to be enough for tonight and tomorrow morning, and I don't need to go back down there. Puggled. Need to get some pasta, a few carbs, get the energy levels back up again. Let's go, let's do a bit of cooking. Let me have a cup of tea first. That's better. So while that kettle's boiling, or coming onto the boil, I'm going to I have a lot of room here for filming. I'm going to lose this shell layer. It's a bit damp and put on something a bit more comfortable. You see me through the steam. I'm just going to let that sit on a rolling boil for a minute or two, folks. Straight out the river. I've got this B3. It's a water filter, so I can, if I need a drink of cold water, I can drink that straight out the river through this filter there. Usually keep these for about a year or so, and eventually the filter does get clogged, but you can clean the filter just by shaking it gently. But I think it's good practice to change them every now and again. But I find these better than Puri tabs. And I've certainly never had any tummy trouble drinking water that's been through this. And once or twice where I've been caught out on the high ground where water has been difficult to find, I've put some pretty dirty water through this and always seem to have been okay. Right folks, I'm going to have my cup of coffee and switch the filming lamp off for a wee while to save the battery. I only have one battery for it. I'll check in with you in a wee while. We'll get some pasta and sauce on the go. I did have some veggies for tonight, but they're still on the kitchen work surface. Forgot to pick them up this morning. I was quite sleepy when I got up this morning. I was up at 4:30. I woke up. I actually woke up before the alarm, and I thought, you know what, let's just get going. Well, that was a grand cup of coffee, folks. Had a cup of coffee and a couple of squares of chocolate, listened to a few tunes, kick back, relax for a wee while. But it's on for 6 o'clock now and time for dinner. So it should have been pasta with a side of mushrooms tonight, but the mushrooms are at home. Not to worry. I've got sauce. It's sun-dried tomatoes. Quite lightweight, quite concentrate. But I've also got somewhere Here it is. I've got a tomato sauce, a passata, that I'm going to add to it so that I can make it a wee bit soupier, because it's quite a hard day and a wee bit dehydrated, so make the pasta a wee bit soupy. I'll use some of this, and I'll use my sun-dried tomatoes. We're done with them, keep them all together. Well folks, I've added my sun-dried tomatoes and passata. All that remains to do is to put a little bit of Parmesan, or maybe a lot of Parmesan. Actually it says grated Italian style cheese. I've got the filming lamp in my eyes. I can't see how much I put in here. Say when, folks. Oh my goodness. Oh well. It's all energy. Mix it in. It'll be like chewing gum now. Oh. I've got to take the tea bag out. It's alright, it's decaf. Drop that there. Cheers folks. Perfect. Got some Crocs if I can't, sandal things, if I need to go out in the night. So, pulling on my boots. When I packed for this trip, I was planning on a slightly different route, starting further south, and yeah, a little bit longer route, and it would have involved a river crossing, and the Crocs are brilliant for river crossings. You can either just take your boots and socks off and put the Crocs on so that you're not getting damage to your feet from any sharp rocks in the riverbed, or if you really want to go soft, you can put on some waterproof socks and then put the Crocs on, and then away you go through the river, and then you've got dry socks and dry boots for the rest of the trip. But the reason that I couldn't do the route that I was planning, getting back to the point folks, quite good at tangents, although I wasn't very good at them when I was at school, but that's a different story. So the reason that I didn't follow my original plan was because I would have set off from the wee track that starts just by Loch Aich there at the end of Loch Rannoch. I don't know if you know that area, just before Rannoch station, and it goes up past the old lodge. Some people call that section the road to the Isles. Of course the road to the Isles is, well, it's the road to the Isles. It goes a long way. But that little section there, and the start point is in Highland Perthshire, and Perthshire is under tier 3 lockdowns, so despite the fact that there's absolutely nobody there, not even a house there, I couldn't set off from there because I'm not allowed to journey to I think I can journey through a tier 3 area, but I'm not allowed to
to make it a destination, and although was a starting point, it would have been a destination from home where I would have had to leave the car. So is any of this making sense? Anyhow, I decided to change the plans. I decided not to stop in Perthshire at all, so I came further north, and that's how I ended up in Dalwhinnie and started off from there. And I contacted both the estates that I'd been cycling through, and I also made an arrangement to pay for some parking in Dalwhinnie. So as far as I possibly can, folks, I'm doing things the right way. I might just pop them in my sleeping bag, need them for the morning. So I know a good few of you are probably in lockdown just now, so I really sincerely hope that this wee video and the other videos that I load up on the channel are a help. I hope they give you some entertainment and I don't know, maybe just a wee bit perspective on everything that's happening. The hills are still there, the rivers are still running, and we will get through this. It can't come soon enough for me. I don't like to be hemmed in. So I appreciate every view, every thumbs up, every comment. I do my very best to reply to them all. And as I say, I really do hope that these wee videos are maybe a wee bit of a help in troubling times. Anyway, on a lighter note, I can make my hot chocolate thick enough for the spoon to stand up in tonight. This is organic, a rich, indulgent and creamy hot chocolate drink. My goodness me. With a description like that, folks, it can't be good for you. Looking forward to it though. Well folks, I've been lying in my sleeping bag doing a wee bit of reading. I've got this adventure book that I'm reading, quite interesting. Just a work of fiction, but easy reading, relaxing, lying in the sleeping bag. Got some tunes on. I have to turn the tunes off because of copyright on YouTube, so I can't share the music with you. I've been listening to some country and western music. I've got some Scottish traditional music as well, and some folk music. I've got 2 or 3 playlists there, so after my hot chocolate, which I've just made, I'm going to climb into the sleeping bag for good, get my head down, get an early night, see if I can haul myself out the sleeping bag early in the morning. Just looking at a bug flying about there, a wee bit cold for that. Hot chocolate's a wee bit lumpy. I think I put a little bit too much in. So I hope you enjoyed today, folks. That was a grand day on the bike. Some nice views. That bug is flying around. We have to do something about that before I go to sleep. Some grand views. We were looking at some big hills. We could see Ben Alder and Ben Veal in the distance, and the ridge that runs down the Geel Carn, and oh, I can't remember the name of the hills on that ridge. Annoch Beg, Ben Ivan, and there's a fourth one. I can't remember the name of the fourth hill. There's 4 Munros down that ridge. We were looking across there, and then we looked up into Anlarig. Maybe one day I'll take you up into there. There's a lock-in in there, Do Lock-in, which is a bonny spot, and you can actually drop down the other side and it takes you down to Glens actually. That's where it takes you to. Anyhow, gonna get my hot chocolate here, warm me up from the inside, climb into that sleeping bag, and I'll get back with you in the morning. So I bid you good night, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night now. Morning, folks. I haven't ventured out my sleeping bag yet. I have actually got the top half dressed. Quite cold this morning. Quite dark as well. I was up at 7 and it is now 20 to 8. So, well, I'll say I was up. I was awake a wee bit before 7. And I wondered about doing a wee bit tidying up. But then I decided just to read a chapter. I can tidy up when I pack up. And with that filming light shining in my eyes, it looks like it's pitch dark over your shoulder there behind you, but actually the light is coming in. There's a lot of cloud about this morning. There was a heavy shower of rain, actually more than a shower. It rained quite heavily for a while in the night. But there is daylight out there now. A lot of cloud about. There's temperature inverted cloud down in the glen, and I'm heading down that way today for a wee while before I spin round and back up to some higher ground. Let me turn you around and see if there's enough light for you to see the view. Breakfast is made. Porridge with a wee bit of honey. Some coffee on the go here. It says hot lava java. Roast 6. Proper coffee made easy, it says. Give it a wee taste in a minute. Let it cool down. It's still brewing up. Can you see out there? Bit of a lazy morning this morning, folks, having breakfast in bed. A wee bit cold and damp out there though. It'll be okay once we get out and about. Once we get moving. It's always fun. A warm sleeping bag, you know, it's your best friend on a camping trip, but it's also the enemy in the morning. It's robbing me of daylight. I don't have a lot of daylight to play with this time of the year. Got a fair bit of distance to cover today. I'm going to film some of it, folks. I'm not going to film it all today. I think I'll probably do most of the filming in the morning up to about lunchtime. We'll see how the day is wearing on and how my timings are. Whether I have to put the camera away this afternoon. Seem to have a puncture this morning, folks.
It seems like a slow puncture, the worst kind. I've got some tools with me, I'm not too concerned. I'm just debating whether I should just pump it up. See how it goes. My experience of that approach is it always goes down. Right, I put a bit of air into that tyre, we'll see what happens with it. I've got a feeling that I'm going to have to get the tools out and get that wheel off and get it fixed, but if it's a slow enough puncture I might get away with it for a wee while. We'll see how we get on. Priority is to get the stove on the go, get another cup of coffee, and then we'll get packed up. Before I load the bike up, I'll have a wee look at it and see what I'm going to do. Making a bit of progress here, folks. Been a bit of a lazy morning, a bit of a slow morning. I'm being kind to myself. That's a polite way of saying I've been faffing around this morning. That's the washing up done. I was a bit tired last night, I didn't bother with it. I have a system of packing. On one side of the bike is all my camping and cooking gear. On the top is my sleep system, and in front of the sleep system is my tent. And then on the other side is all my food and other bits and pieces. And up on the front it's tools and some spare parts. And the camera gear sits on my back. It's a bit sensitive to sugaring around, so Well folks, that's me packed up eventually. That tyre is losing air, but it's going down pretty slowly, so I think I'm going to pack up and get out of here, and I'll fix it later. I'm on a loop, but I'm conscious that I'm getting further and further away from the car, so if this breakdown is serious, if I can't get it fixed, I'm going to have one heck of a hike. I'm reasonably confident that that's not going to happen. The only reason I'm hesitating is because it's obviously a slow puncture. And although I can find the puncture in the tube, these are not tubeless, these have got tubes in them. Although I can find the puncture in the tube, I'm not sure if I can find the problem in the tyre. If you're wondering about the other strap, folks, it's to tie you on. I tie the tripod on the back here when I'm on the move. So that's it. Pretty much good to go. See how far we get. I better brush my teeth before I go, folks. Not very presentable for you this morning. And yeah, I do have an electrical toothbrush with me. It's a battery operated one. Okay folks, let's get back on the track. Keep moving. I seem to be doing okay on my soft tyre, folks. It's a bit spongy and bouncy on the front, but I'm getting there. I've got to cross this piece of moorland. I'm shouting because you're quite far away. I've got to cross this bit of moorland, and I don't know if you can see that birch wood away in the distance there. I've got to go through the birch wood, and then I drop down very steeply and actually hit a bit of pine woodland after that. And that'll take me to the lowest point on the journey. And after that there's a lot of uphill. We've got a long way to go. Let's keep moving. Well folks, it's all happening this morning. Making progress, and I was working away, getting this puncture repaired and getting things gradually put back together again, chatting away to the camera, having a bit of a blether, and then I realised that the camera wasn't working. The memory card is full, so I've switched to GoPro now. It's all happening today. Let's see if we can get some air into this. I can't get this wheel to go back on, folks. It's all full of mud from yesterday. See if I can give it a wee wash out. I'm going to try it without the wheel first. See if I can shift some of that mud. I don't want to cross thread this, and I'd have 2 days of walking to get out of here carrying a bike. Now that would be a video, except my memory card's full. That's looking a wee bit better. Let's see if we can do something now. I'm going to try again, folks, see if I can get this tyre seated properly. Because if it's not sitting properly, I'll just get another puncture. Hey, third attempt, folks. I'm going to try it off the bike. See if that'll help. It's looking a wee bit better, folks, but there's one bit. I did hit a rock yesterday. I'm wondering if I've damaged something. Well folks, it's a wee bit better, but it's not right. I'm going to have a wee spin up and down the track before I put any more air in and see if it will just bed in a wee bit. That's a wee bit better, but there's one area where there's a gap between the tyre and the rim. It's sitting off the rim. Anyhow, it's getting on for 12 o'clock, folks. It took a wee while to cycle across that moorland. And I was lingering over my coffee and breaking camp this morning. So I'm going to get packed up here, and I might see if I can dig out, I think I've got another memory card someplace for the bigger camera, but what I'm probably going to do is put the cameras away for a wee while. Well folks, we're all packed up again. I've got the luggage cinched down on the back. I've got air in the front. I hope there's still air in the front. And the good news is I found another memory card, so the GoPro is away and I'm back to the decent camera. However, the bad news is I've used so much time this morning with running repairs and lingering over coffee and taking a while to break camp that I'm very short of daylight. So I've really only got about 3.5, 4 hours maximum of daylight left. I've got a long way to go, so I'm going to put the cameras away for a while, probably a couple of hours actually. I'm going to crack on, I'm going to get down this track, and then I've got a fair bit of climbing. I've got a lot of climbing to do. I don't think I'll be able to break the camera out, but I will get back to you before nightfall, folks. So let me crack on here. Sorry you're going to miss a wee bit of this journey, but I will get back to you in a few hours' time. That's a fine view there, folks. I'm out of the trees now. I'm almost at the lowest point of the track. I've decided to have a wee bit of late lunch, give me some sustenance for the climb this afternoon. Let's see what we've got to eat here, folks. A wee bit cold, folks. Put my hat on. Got a cheese and onion pasty. I've actually got some cheese here as well. Oh, you know what I've got? I've got coffee on the bike. When I was faffing about this morning breaking camp, I boiled up the kettle and I boiled enough water for a quick cup of coffee, and also enough to top up that little flask that I've got. I'm going to go and grab that. Oh, that's good. You know what I should have done, folks? I should have put some of that hot chocolate in. Would that make it a mocha? Or just a mockery of a good cup of coffee? This is this strong coffee that I was mentioning last night. Or was it this morning? So much has happened today, folks, forgive me. The cloud is creeping down over the hills there. I don't think it's going to drop much below about 800 metres. So it won't be any bother to us. You know, Scotland's just a wee country, folks, but it seems bigger at this time of the year with the short days and the moody landscapes and these big open empty spaces. It makes it feel a little bit bigger than it actually is. I always say in Scotland you're never much more than a day away from anywhere else, but that's not quite true when you're moving by foot or canoe or on the bike. The distances, especially when you're going into the interior, into the hills like this, the distances are greater at this time of the year. All you need is a breakdown. A wee reminder of how far you are from any habitation. Oh, let me catch my breath. We're getting high again, folks, but the day's wearing on. I've got a lot to do yet. I'm trying to favour this front wheel as well, trying to avoid going over anything that might catch the sidewall. I've got a bit more up to do yet, so onwards and upwards, folks. Do you recognise the view, folks? We've gone round in a big circle I'm back to Loch Pattock now, and the repair on the bike is holding up. I know what I've done. I can see it perfectly from here. I've twisted the rim of the wheel a little bit when I hit a rock yesterday morning, and it splayed the side out a little bit, so the rim of the wheel and the tyre have got a wee gap, and the gravel is getting down. It's rubbing the side of the inner tube and puncturing it. There's not very much I can do. I don't have enough tools to fix it, but I might be able to give it a wee bash with a peening hammer or something when I get home. Failing that, it's going to be a new rim, I'm afraid. A glorious evening. This is a good spot you've found, just at the side of the track. I think I'll just stop here for the night. I've still got a few kilometres to go. I'm running out of daylight again. Quite fancy another night in the tent. Quite close to the water, but I don't think it's going to be particularly windy tonight, so it should be okay. Washed away by waves. It's been an eventful day. I don't want an eventful evening. I want a nice quiet evening. Right, let me get to it. Let's get a camp set up. Hopefully we'll wake up in the morning with a couple of tyres full of air. You must be getting fed up watching me putting up and taking down tents, folks. So if I try and entertain you with a wee story while I'm working away here. I hope you can hear me, it's a bit breezy. Over my shoulder there we're looking towards Ben Alder and Ben Veal. I climbed Ben Alder as a teenager, just a young boy, in the depth of winter with a school buddy. We took the train in from Carrower, from Rannoch up to Carrower, and then we hiked down to Loch Ossian, and we stayed for a night in Loch Ossian in the youth hostel. But back in these days, we're going back, that would probably be the late 1970s. In the winter time, the youth hostel was left open as a house for a bothy, so we went down and we made use of the youth hostel. In these days there was a big stove in the centre of the room with a pipe going up through the roof, a lum going up through the roof, and this big range had an oven in it. They also had sort of like benches, I don't know what you would call them, long sort of benches with a soft seat and a hard back, and you could put the two of them together and it made a really comfy bed. But the trick was to get there first, get two of these benches, put them together, and then in the evening, after the fire was just dying down a bit, you could slide these benches forward right up against the range. It had an oven in it. You could open the oven door and you could lie on this lovely soft bed with your feet in the oven in your sleeping bag, and oh, what a lovely night you had. Anyway, my pal, John his name was, John and I had a night in Lochosian Hostel, and then we hiked up and over the Bialach past that area. Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. It's very famous for avalanching, and a group were caught out there, probably in the 70s. There was multiple deaths, sadly. Anyway, we hiked up and over there, and we dropped down to Ben Alder Cottage at the head of Loch Eric, which is down in there. Deep snow, depth of winter, 2 schoolboys, completely out of our depth. No maps actually, we had a road map of Scotland, that's how we navigated around. So, we got into Ben Alder Cottage, and we had these old-fashioned cagoules. You just kind of slipped them over your head, and it had a wee zip bit there. Huge big hoods on them. We were freezing cold, so we hiked round towards the end of the loch, and then we crossed the Alder Burn. We turned our cagoules inside out to preserve the coating on the inside. We filled it with as much driftwood and bits and pieces of old birch wood and wet alder and whatever we could find, until eventually we had 2 great sackfuls of wood, and we hauled it all the way back to Ben Alder Cottage, and with perseverance we were able to get a fire going. Anyhow, we stayed there. We were almost a week in Ben Alder Cottage, and we went out 2 or 3 times to have a go at Ben Alder in the snow, and we couldn't do it. We weren't sure of the route, and the weather was bad. Anyway, one day we got pretty close. We got away up to the top of the burn, and then there was just this big escarpment of deep snow. We were running out of daylight, but we felt that the following day was the day for it, so we turned tail and we went back down to Ben Alder Cottage, and we had an early night. We were up. We didn't have a watch or anything, we couldn't afford such luxuries. We were up in the morning, no idea what time. It was probably the middle of the night. It was probably about 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and we retraced our steps through the snow with really dim old-fashioned head torches, and we got to our high point, and then we hunkered down in the snow, all wrapped up. Had a wee bite to eat, and we thought it'll only be an hour till daylight comes in. About 3 or 4 hours later we were still sitting there in the dark shivering, but we weren't for giving up. So we sat there, and eventually the first little sliver of silver came into the sky, and we thought, yeah, we're almost good to go. We sat there for another hour, absolutely frozen. But eventually the sky lightened, and the way ahead became clear, and so we climbed that snow slope, cutting steps. We didn't have axes, ice axes or crampons, but we had some rudimentary tools. I can't remember what we had. I think we had some sort of shovel, to be honest. Anyway, we managed to cut some steps. We got up that slope and right up onto the plateau of Ben Alder. 2 crazy schoolboys. And you know what, folks, we had the most amazing day. We had clear skies, wall to wall blue skies, and white summits, and the white of the plateau. We could see all the way down this ridge over here. We could see to these hills there. What an amazing experience it was. So we wandered about on the summit for a while. It's big and it's flat, it's a massive expanse, but eventually in the distance we could see the cairn, and so we got across. We bagged the summit, and then we went and explored the cornices. We were digging with our shovel, breaking off chunks of the cornice. How we survived, I don't know. Then we looked across to Benville, and we thought, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could go and climb that hill, but we had no idea what it was called, and we had no idea of the route. So eventually we found our
footprints in the snow, and we retraced our steps back down. We found the steps that we cut to get up there in the first place, down there, and then down to the burn and back to Ben Alder Cottage for the final night of our trip. Then in the morning, up and over, back to Loch Ossian Hostel. We had a night in there. What I should say, folks, is when we were in the cottage, we had a celebration to celebrate getting the summit. We were on pretty poor rations in these days, but it was just at the point that these kind of boil in the bag mountain meals came out. I can't remember the make of them. I don't know if they still make them, to be honest. But we had what we were calling chicken chaser, chicken chasseur, this exotic meal that we had, and we cooked it up, and boy did it taste good. But you know, for a couple of hungry growing schoolboys that had been out all day in the hills, it seemed that it was 2 or 3 mouthfuls. So much as we enjoyed it, we still climbed into our sleeping bags a wee bit hungry. The following night in the hostel, we were back on meagre rations again. Then in the morning, we knew we had to catch the train, but without any way of telling the time. We were up and we thought we were ahead of the game, and we were wandering up the track, and then we're thinking, you know, the sun seems a bit high in the sky, so we picked up the pace a little bit. Long story short, we got to the station just as the train was chugging its way, clickety-clack over the rails, and we just made it. We got the train back down to Glasgow. We were sitting on the train. There was an old lady making a picnic of it. She had a wee tablecloth set out. She had a flask of tea and some lovely looking sandwiches. We were sitting there starving. Eventually, one of us, I can't remember who it was, I think it was John, plucked up the courage to ask her if she could spare a sandwich for a couple of hungry boys that had been in the hills for a week. I would like to tell you that that story had a nice ending and we feasted on a sandwich on our way to Glasgow, but I think we were told to mind our own business and bring our own sandwiches, so we got down to Glasgow and then hopped on the train into Edinburgh. Didn't have enough for the bus fare back home. We had to hike through the streets of Edinburgh in the dark and the rain. But boy, what an adventure. Great fun for a couple of schoolboys. Anyhow, I better get this tent up, eh? Can you see that, folks? We've got some weather coming our way. Quite a drop in temperature. Not too bad, we're almost set up. Time for a change of jackets. Quite cold. I've been wearing this yellow jacket because it's a wee bit easier for you to see me when I'm filming. But I've got to go into stealth mode now, I'm pretty cold.
I need a warmer layer. There we are. Have I just disappeared? Right. I need to get some water. Normally I wouldn't use water out of the loch, but I think I'm going to use that tonight. There's a burn further round there, and then there's the river that we crossed earlier, but it's quite a long way around. I should have really stopped on the way and got some water. Anyway, I've got some drinking water, and I've got my filter. I've got a wee bit of drinking water left from today, and I've got my filter. And basically I'm going to boil everything up anyway to make some pasta, believe it or not. So let's go, let's get the washing up done. We've still got a wee bit of daylight, folks, but I'm quite hungry. A long day. It's been an eventful day. So I'm going to get my dinner on the go early tonight, folks. This is not winter gas that I'm using. It's Coleman Performance Gas. It's the same company that makes the winter gas, but this has got a bad habit of burning off. It's a butane propane mix. It burns off one and not the other when the temperature's too low. If I was clever, I'd be able to tell you which way round it is, but I'm not very clever. I don't know. But one of them gets left behind and there's no pressure, so you get a glow of heat coming from it. But if you get it screwed on nice and tight, well shaken up, and stop now and again when you're cooking. Just have a wee pause, give it another shake, keep that gas mixed up. Otherwise, like I say, you'll be left with just one type and then there's not enough pressure to burn it. I don't know what's happening to this thing, it's not sparking very well. There's a big flat stone on the beach there that I thought about hauling up here, which would have made a lovely cooking platform, but then I've got to climb over it every time I get in and out the tent. Let's give this a real blast tonight, folks, get it warmed up quickly. Got a backlight on in the tent there, I hope you don't mind that, I hope it's not in your eyes. It's just quite difficult when I've got the filming lamp there and I can't see anything in here, so the backlight helps me a little bit to get my bits and pieces together.
Well folks, that's my pasta boiled up. All good to go. So it was supposed to be pasta with sun-dried tomatoes and passata last night with mushrooms on the side. Well, tonight it's the same pasta with sun-dried tomatoes and passata with courgettes on the side. A little bit stir-fried courgette. However, the courgette is in exactly the same place that the mushrooms are. The kitchen work surface. I forgot to put them in the bag. So no veggies on the side tonight again, folks, I'm afraid. This will be getting a wee bit repetitive for you. Sitting in the same position, cooking up the same meal, with the same tent in the background. Not to worry. I have my Italian style grated cheese, which I think means it's not quite Parmesan. Well, I'll just put my rubbish there just now. Dig out the passata. I can afford to go quite heavy on that tonight. Oh, that is a lot. Okay, pasta soup tonight. Right, let me get this warmed up. Well, I might not have my courgettes, folks, but this is absolutely wonderful. That's pretty hungry. That's quite a hard day today. Excuse me, talking with my mouth full. Quite hungry. Well, folks, that pasta was absolutely amazing. Wonderful. See what I've got? Got dessert tonight. A wee tub of rice pudding. Mo thinks it's sacrilege doing this to rice. Oh boy, that's cold. That might be better warmed up a wee bit. I've started now. I was filming making this cafe mocha, if I can call it that. But I have a feeling that I didn't press the start button. So I've been talking away to you for the last 20 minutes, folks. But you weren't here. Camera was turned off. So basically what I've done, I'll keep it short this time. I made a cup of coffee, decaf. I think it's a Java roast, number 4 or something like that. And then I got my hot chocolate. My green and black's hot chocolate. And I put a ridiculous amount into the cup and stirred it round. And now I'm about to have a tasting. It's got the viscosity of axle grease. That's a bit unkind. Syrup, we'll call it syrup. Interesting. Do I know what the flavour is? I can detect a full-bodied Java roast with maybe a hint of molasses, an earthy flavour with richness and smoothness from the cocoa. And there's also, believe it or not folks, there's a hint of passata in there as well. That's because I didn't clean my spoon after eating my pasta. Well, it's drinkable. To be honest, if I was given that in a coffee shop, I wouldn't send it back. Because I've never ordered something like that in a coffee shop. If they gave me it, I would just say no thanks. Give me an Americano, please. It's not that bad. I'm doing that thing of looking around again. The only thing I can see is the moon up there. Right folks, I'm going to drink this and I'll get back to you in a wee while. I'm going to climb into my sleeping bag because it's getting quite cold now, so if you're still viewing, if you're still sticking with this riveting dialogue, I'll drink my concoction and I'll get back to you shortly. Cheers for now folks. Well folks, I'm in my sleeping bag, I'm all tucked up warm. I had a lovely evening. I went for a wander down the track for about 20 minutes, half an hour. I didn't bother taking a torch with me. I was guided by moonlight on the water on Loch Patrick there. It's a wee bit breezy, blustery outside. There was a shower of rain actually, but I was dry when I was walking. The rain came in just as I got back to the tent, so I've climbed into the sleeping bag and actually I've been in the sleeping bag for a wee while. I was reading a bit, I was listening to a little bit of music, and I was just dozing and listening to the wind, to be honest, for a wee while. A bit sleepy now. I'm going to put the tunes back on again for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. I'm going to read a chapter or two until my eyes start to droop, and then lights off, into bed, up early tomorrow hopefully, although I don't have an alarm with me, but we'll wake up when we wake up, and then it's a case of getting packed up and really getting out of here. The plan is to head for home tomorrow, and ideally I'd like to do the journey in daylight, so I've not got a tremendously long cycle tomorrow, and it's not the most exciting in terms of filming, so I'll put the camera on for a wee while tomorrow morning when I'm having breakfast. We'll have a wee blether and a catch up. We'll get the camp broken and the bike loaded up, but I probably won't film much of the journey tomorrow. Anyhow, time to get that book out, see if it sends me off to sleep, so we'll get back with you in the morning folks. Thanks for tuning in as always, and I'll bid you good night. Morning folks, a bit misty murky this morning, a bit cold as well. There's a wee bit of a breeze, I think it'll blow some of that mist away. I think I see a couple of deer down on the point there, I don't know, I think they're just out of camera shot. I heard the deer about maybe an hour ago, something like that, this morning in the early hours, trundling along. I can see the deer prints here. They must have come within just a couple of metres of the tent there. Oh, still got air in the tyre folks.
Roast number 5. Flying start, this one's called this morning, folks. We're off to a flying start. Right enough. You're back to watching me taking down tents again, folks. Is it time for another story? We're running out of stories. I can give you another Ben Alder story. This was just a few years ago, actually. I came up the road in the wee small hours. I parked up in Dalwhinnie, jumped on the bike and I cycled down to Coolrabothie, which is down there. Actually, I think it's more or less visible. So I cycled down to Coolra, I dropped the bike, I went up onto this ridge here. So that's, oh, I couldn't remember the names of them all yesterday. Ben Jerrig, Gilcarn, Annapeg and Ben Ivan. Not necessarily in that order. So I went scooting along the ridge. It was Easter time. There was a lot of snow about. And it was forecast for a grand day. But the forecasters forgot to tell the weather. When I was up there, there was a squall came over and I had to hunker down. There was driving snow. Anyway, it lasted about less than an hour. So I carried on with my hike. I got right along the ridge and I dropped down to the Beerlack at the end. And then I thought, what am I going to do now? It's still early in the day. Wasn't that early? But it was longer days. So I hauled myself right up onto the summit of Ben Alder there in the cloud with the snow on it. And if you know Ben Alder, you know going up from that particular approach, it's not technically difficult, but boy, it is a slog. It's a long, relentless pull from the glen up onto that summit plateau. Anyhow, I went over the summit of Ben Alder, I went out and bagged Ben Veal, and came back down that ridge that you see there, heading straight to the bothy, which I don't know, I don't think you can see it in the camera, but and into Coolra to pick up my bike. I had a sleeping bag with me and I thought about dossing in the bothy for a few hours, but it was a beautiful evening. What have I done here? It was not paying attention. It was a beautiful evening, so I thought, I'm just going to jump on the bike. So I jumped on the bike, back down the track, all the way to Dalwhinnie, into the car. By this time it's the wee small hours of the morning, pitch dark. I drove down the road a wee bit, but my eyes were closing. I thought, this is too dangerous. So I pulled over just beyond Ben Oodlemain there at the Drumochter summit, and I thought, I'll have an hour's sleep. Anyway, about 3 hours later I woke up and I was feeling much better. I had a flask of cold coffee in the car, I had a wee sip of coffee, back on the road. I got home, had a quick shower, a change of clothes, I went into work for a couple of hours. One of the boys says, "Hey, you're up and about a bit late today, Dave." I didn't share my wee adventure. There we go, another story for putting up and taking down tents. Having my last portion of fruit boats. I had the fruit in that Nalgene bottle. The mango heavy are all sunk to the bottom, so I'm having a generous amount of mango this morning. I think there's one piece of orange and one piece of peach in it. And it's super cold. Quite refreshing though, give me a bit of energy. I've got a bit of climbing to do when I set off, but we're on a better track. I was thinking about that bike last night. I hope my bike mishap has not dominated the video. I know what I've done now that I've thought about it. I've twisted that rim a wee bit. The gravel or the grit is getting down in the gap between the tyre and the rim, and it's causing a puncture. I do actually have some gaffer tape around one of my bottles, so I should have done it yesterday, but I think before I set off I'm going to put a wee bit of tape around it, see if I can stop the gravel getting in. Mind you, I was cycling all day yesterday, so I need to re-edit that and say stop any more gravel getting in. I hope there's nothing in there that's going to cause me any problems today. I don't have time today to play about with bike repairs. I've got a big gap, folks, between the sidewall of the tyre and the rim of the wheel, covering an area about that. Yesterday when I was doing the repair I thought maybe I just hadn't seated the tyre properly, or I had the inner tube caught, and I fiddled with it and I tried it 2 or 3 different ways and I couldn't get it to seat. And now I'm pretty convinced that I've bent the side of the wheel, so the rim, the bit that sticks up, I'm not sure what that's called, I think has got splayed out a little bit. So I might be able to repair it when I get home, but it might be a new rim. However, what I'm worried about today, especially, I've got a good track today, but there's a few very dirty bits of the track where there's a lot of mud and a lot of grit. I'm worried about grit getting down and causing a puncture, because I'm pretty sure that's what happened yesterday. So I've got some gaffer tape here, if I can find the end of it. I'm hoping it's sticky enough. If I can put a bit of gaffer tape on, it might keep the grit out. I'm not sure if it'll stay on. We'll give it a go anyway, shall we? There we are, folks, we're more or less good to go. Let's crack on, folks. Well folks, we're back in the trees. Look, Eric, over your shoulder there. I haven't done very much filming this morning, folks, apologies for that, but I've still got a bit of distance to cover, so I've been cracking on. The track is undulating now. The worst of it is behind me. There's a couple of muddy bits that I've got to go through, but generally speaking it's a pretty fast track now, so I'm going to crack on, get down the track and back to the car, get all this gear loaded up down the road. Well folks, that's me back at the car. The A9 roaring away in the background there. I'm going to get this bike loaded up onto the carrier, get the gear thrown in the back, quick cup of coffee. I've still got my Java lava that I made this morning. Wee bite to eat and I'm going to get down the road. I want to try and get down before darkness. I'm going to be pushing it a wee bit. So I'll thank you for your company, folks. I hope you enjoyed this wee mini adventure. It was certainly eventful at times. It was grand to be back out and about again. Hope you're all staying safe and I look forward to getting back to you very soon. So take care, thanks for viewing, and we'll see you again soon, folks. Bye for now.